Hey there, fellow classic comic collectors. As always, I'm Scott Harris King, and today I'm back and I've got comic books. Yes, these days I'm doing most of my back issue buying at the stores. Now that I'm vaccinated and things are open back up here in Massachusetts, I'm going out and I'm hitting all those stores, so you'll be seeing more and more haul videos where I'm visiting different stores. But I still have bought a few things on eBay, and they've been piling up, and so I think it's time to open all of these packages, and then so I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that off camera so you don't have to sit through me struggling with these packages. But once I've got these opened up, I'm going to go through them. I'll show you everything I've gotten, and then at the end of the video, I've also got another store visit, but this is one that's a little different from the other ones I've been doing because it's a return visit. A return to Bedrock Comics, which was the first store that I visited when I was doing my store visits. I went down there and picked up some more stuff. So this is going to be pure gas, a bunch of cool comics. I don't really remember what's in here. There's some of them I remember. Other ones I'm just like, I don't know, romance? Let's find out. I don't know. So here we go. I'm going to open them up and then we'll find out together what's in these packages. Alright, I've opened them all up. I managed to do it without spoiling myself on what's in here. So I'm gonna try and surprise all of us. There was one that I got spoiled on, so I thought I'd leave with that because it's also total straight gas, big key, spend a bit of money on this one, but I really wanted to get it, and that is a nice copy of Savage Sword of Conan, #1. I have been working for several years on a Savage Sword of Conan run. I have most of the issues. I think I'm missing about 25. But I was missing issue 1, and recently there was a lot of news about a new Red Sonja movie, and a lot of Red Sonja's early appearances really started taking off, and I figured, let me just buy this and get this out of the way right now before it potentially goes any higher. This is the, you can see it's got Red Sonja on the cover. This is the first appearance of her iconic chainmail bikini outfit, and this is her third appearance. Her first 2 appearances in Conan 23 and 24, she didn't have this outfit. It technically appeared before this in a fanzine. There was an artist who designed it in a fanzine, and then Marvel decided to use that design in the comics. But this is the first. So this is the first chainmail bikini, second Red Sonja cover, third appearance of Red Sonja. But beyond all that, it's the first issue of Savage Sword of Conan, which ran for 235 issues. So it's a key either way. And magazines have lagged behind the comics, but this is a great series, and so I just wanted to get that one before it potentially gets out of reach. The Savage Tales #1, which is the first Conan issue, sort of a tryout for this magazine, that's already out of reach for me, I think. And next up, I already knew what this one as well because it just came in today. Speaking of Conan, it is a solid, nice upper mid-grade copy of Conan the Barbarian #8. Now, you may remember a while ago I started on the quest because I got down under 10 issues of Conan the Barbarian to complete the entire 275 issue run. Normally I would be putting the graphic up here on the screen to count it down. However, there's another issue of Conan coming up at the end of the video, so I'm just going to wait till then. But here's issue 8 with the cover and art by, well, actually, I was going to say cover and art by Barry Windsor Smith, but I'm not 100% sure. It doesn't really quite look like his line work on here. Anyway, interior art, Barry Smith, classic issues, and this is actually nicer than I thought it would be. I'm very pleased with this purchase. My copies of issue 1 to 7 are all very, very nice. They're all 7 and above. I got them all at the same time from an original owner collection. Sadly, the original owner who had bought them off the stands passed away, and I was given the opportunity to purchase them. So I've unusually for me, I have high grade copies of the first 7 issues. So I'm happy to get a nice copy of issue 8 to go with that. Alright, next up, here's where the surprises begin. I'm not quite sure what's coming next. Let me see if I can get this, even though I've opened it, it's still got some tape, and this is, oh, it's it's an issue of Young Romance. Huh. It's a guy holding a kitty cat. Huh. My confusion here is I have no memory of buying this, but also I'm pretty sure I already have this issue, so I don't know why I would have bought it. There's no number on the front, so that can be confusing, but that's a bit of a puzzle for me. And they packaged it in here with some instructions on how to repair your printer. So I don't know why they did that. So this is an odd one. I don't know why I have this. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm misremembering. And I don't have this already. But it's a guy holding a kitten. It's a cool cover. I'm a little puzzled. Memory's not what it used to be. Next up, oh, this is exciting. Still got a bunch of tape on it. But it is My Romantic Adventures number 138. Now, again, I want to stress, it's not My Romantic Adventures. That's just the title of the series. But this is the last issue of My Romantic Adventures, number 138, cover dated March, I don't know what year, 65, maybe 66. I think ACG folded in 67, but the romance titles, I think, ended a little bit before that. An amazing romance straight from the heart. Anything can happen in New York. The girl I dreamed of in her own honeymoon cottage, which you can barely see because of the coloring, but here it is over here in the background. The cover is actually, a lot of these late covers, they're reprints, and they just recolored them. So I think I already have the earlier issue with the same image, but colored differently. But I was really happy to pick this up at a very good price because it is the last issue. And the ones at the end are a little bit harder to find. Next up, we have... Boy, I have been having so many issues with this series. It's Tender Love Stories, numbers 2 and 4. You may remember that I already got a lot that had Tender Love Stories number 2 in it. And when I opened the book, the whole interior had been all hacked to pieces. Like, there were chunks missing out of like almost every page, panels that had been cut out willy-nilly. It was completely destroyed. So I was like, I need to get a new copy. I happened to be searching online and I saw a guy that has issues 2 and 4, and I got so excited that I bought them immediately. Didn't even look at the listings, just bought them both. I was like, yes, I completed my run. And then I realized that I already have number 4. I just spent like $20 on the second copy of number 4. It's number 3 that I'm still missing. So, man, this series has been a mess for me to collect. But I finally have what I'm presuming is a complete copy of number 2. It's actually in nicer condition anyway than the one that I previously had, even that aside. Issue 4 has a cool cover. I already have a copy and I paid like $20 for this. So this is one I'm probably going to have to resell or trade to get my money back. But there's a race car driver who's kissing this girl, and in the background there's another girl who is thinking to herself, I love you, Jim Dixon, but Stephanie is the girl in your arms. And I'm the one who shares your love for the one thing we both have in common. Drugs! No, she's talking about cars, I presume. It's interesting because this is very reminiscent of a comic that I happen to have just sitting right here behind me. And that is Young Love 106, which is one of my favorites. It was I recently did my top 50 romance books. This was one of them, one of my favorites. And again, we've got a girl working on a car, and she's saying, sure, boys like you are hard to get, Mike, but so are after-school jobs. So we can see just how important he is. I love you, but I'm going to compete with you, even if I have to look like a sex object. I was a girl in the hot pants. So, slightly different vibe. Same basic idea. But yeah, so yep, just bought 2 of those for no reason. Yeah. In one of my videos here, I forget which one, but there's a section where I sort of go off about how messed up my checklist seems to be. I've actually figured out what the issue with my checklist is, which is part of the reason I've been ending up with a bunch of doubles. And then I discovered that my checklist, I've been updating it correctly on my computer, but it has not been syncing properly with my phone. So when I'm out at stores, I've been buying doubles of comics because my checklist, which I know I've been updating, isn't updating on my phone. But I have just the thing to wash away all of my worries. It's Nurse Linda Lark! Yes, Nurse is in Love. Dell has some really cool covers. Have to admit, I'm not always a huge fan, but I like their nurse covers, their medical drama covers. This one has a story called Space Nurse, where she gets involved in space program at NASA. So I'm really excited to read that at some point. Book smells a little bit musty, like a lot of these. I know a lot of people have been waiting a long time for me to follow up on my how to get rid of mustiness. Still haven't figured it out. Nothing's working yet, but when I get it to work, you'll know. Okay, next up, and it is, oh my goodness, talk about being thematically appropriate. It is, it's stuck to the board. It's another Nurse in Love. This time it's from Atlas. It's Linda Carter, Student Nurse. So we get to add a new Nurse in Love to our Nurse in Love collection. I do have another appearance of Linda Carter, the first crossover in the history of the Marvel Universe. In Patsy Walker number 99, which came out between Fantastic Four 1 and 2. There's a crossover between Linda Carter and Patsy Walker, both of whom later appeared in the Marvel Universe. Of course, at the time, there was no Marvel Universe, but Linda Carter, of course, becomes Night Nurse, and Patsy Walker becomes Hellcat, and so, anyway, Patsy Walker 99, undervalued key, run out and get it. I should put that in the title so that all the speculators watch the video. But anyway, this series is hard to get cheap. I got a good deal on this. This issue's not in great shape. It has a bad roll, but it looks good. I have discovered a couple new Nurse in Love titles that I wasn't familiar with. One from Atlas, which is really, really hard to find, and one from Charlton, which is only really hard to find. So I don't have either of those yet, but there's more Nurses in Love on the list. Searching actively for Nurses in Love. Okay, next up, some extra thick backing here on this one. What's the book? And the book is... Ooh, it's Lovelorn, number 34. What do you care what happens to him if you can save me? Don't we love each other? Some really dramatic shadows here. The black, very dramatic. He's got a gun that's coming out from underneath his jacket. She does not look convinced. It was a terrible choice that Barbara Court faced. Her love against the life of an innocent man. Read her amazing decision in My Imprisoned Heart. Come on. Come on. ACG brings it. ACG brings it. Okay. Two more. This is a pretty good selection of romance books here. Got some really offbeat stuff coming in. And this is... Oh, it's still taped to the board. I see it says 3.0 written on the backing board. It says 3.0 and it says 1959. Sounds like a romance book. Oh, I'm excited for this one. I paid a bit for this one. I did pay a bit for this one. It is Romantic Secrets number 20. Of course, I have to get some glare pop up right as I'm trying to show this cool book. yes, it's got this annoying blurb here, but it's got a cool Christmas tree. And the image is great. The image here is Coletta doing a swipe of Matt Baker's cover from Romantic Marriages number 24, a comic I used to have. In some ways, I think this is actually the superior cover, if it didn't have this blurb. Because on that one, the figures are actually much smaller. They're coming up a staircase. I like the big figures, like the Christmas tree. As I said, I did pay a bit for this. I have to inspect it, I guess, later. They have it, again, as a 3.0. It looks better than that to me, but there may be other defects I'm not seeing. It looks more like 4 or maybe even a 4.5, but this is one that's been on my radar for a long time. When I first was doing the Charltons, this book was one of the big ones from this period that I marked down as I wanted. It actually has a date stamp on her leg here as well, right there. It says December 3. The year's smudged, but it's 59. You can tell because someone wrote 59 on the back of the backing board. But anyway, great cover. Very excited to get this. And finally, last one from this batch. Again, it's taped to the board. I thought I had gotten this off already. Oh, and it is really cool. Another really cool cover from a Charlton romance book. It's Teen Diaries, Teen Secret Diary. I think it's issue 11. Trying to figure out who the artist is. I think it's probably Coletta again. It's got his detail work. He likes sort of the flowers and stuff. Some of it looks like it's possible it could be Giordano, or a combination of the two of them working together. So it's a really nice mid-grade. Is probably like a 5. It's a nice copy. Looks really nice. And I really like, night sky, the stars, the kiss, the flowers. Again, Charlton is ruining things with the stupid advertising blurb, but if I just put this down like this, it's like it's not even there. It's like it's not even there. So, that's it for the eBay books, but as I said, we've got a batch of books that I got from Bedrock, so why don't we jump right into that right now. And finally, I also had a return visit to Bedrock Comics. Now, you may remember I'm going to all the comic book stores in my area. There happens to be dozens of them, and the first one that I did a video about a visit to was Bedrock Comics in Framingham, Massachusetts. Well, I went back to Bedrock. I picked up a few more things. It's been a few months since I've been there. I wanted to see if they had anything new. And got a few things at all sorts of different price points. They have so many cool books at really good prices. A lot of very reasonably priced silver and bronze jade stuff. And they have boxes and boxes of dollar bins, which, as you know, I love. And 50-cent bins. So, out of the 50-cent bin, we have Nexus #1. Now, this is... Nexus is kind of complicated because there were 3 issues of a magazine size, like black and white, and then it went to a color regular size comic. So this is technically, I think it's technically volume 2, #1. But whatever, it's the first issue of Nexus. And then the series ran for, I think, over 100 issues. Towards the end, they started doing little arcs that weren't numbered on the cover, but they were numbered on the inside, and that brought them past issue 100. They had a whole run of this, and I should have bought all of them. It's just I'm in the process of trying to downsize my collection, and even though I know this is a great series, and I've read a few issues here and there, and I thought they were great, I just didn't feel like taking on a whole new series right now. Maybe if I go back and they're still there, I'll buy the rest of them, because they had a whole run starting with #1 going up to 30 or 40. I kind of regret not buying them. But for 50 cents, how can you go wrong with Nexus #1? Now, out of the dollar bin, this one is lower grade, it's kind of beat up, but it's a book that I think maybe deserves a little more attention and value than it currently has. It is Showcase 94, number 12. It's an Oracle solo issue. I don't know if this is the first Oracle solo issue story after Barbara Gordon became Oracle in the pages of Suicide Squad or not, but it's an early Oracle spotlight, and again, it was $1. It's lower grade. It's mid grade, but you know what I mean. But I'm a fan of Batgirl. I'm a fan of Barbara Gordon. I'm a fan of Oracle. I'm not a fan of The Killing Joke because I absolutely hate that story. It sucks. But I think this is a book that is under the radar. Of course, Oracle's not really around right now because they just went back to having her be Batgirl, which is fine. But again, I do think Oracle's an interesting character, and this is a book that's maybe a little overlooked, so I picked that up for $1. I also picked up for $1 The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones number 20. I'm getting close to having the whole run put together from dollar bins. I think I'm only missing 5 or 6 of these. This was a series that when I was a kid, when I first got into comics, I wasn't reading superheroes. It was pretty much a lot of science fiction, fantasy, and a lot of licensed comics. It's funny because Jim Shooter, my understanding is not too long after I got into comics, Marvel sort of phased out a lot of their licensed books because they didn't want to do them anymore. But that's what got me into comics. You know, I was reading Star Wars and Indiana Jones and Micronauts and ROM, which are both licensed comics, and Conan the Barbarian. And I was reading all this sort of stuff that brought me into comics. And so I have a lot of nostalgia for this series. I'm almost done putting it together. I'm trying to do the whole thing from dollar bins, but I'm at the point where I might just pull the trigger and get those last few I need. And then here's the gas. Like I said, they have a lot of good books at really good prices. Here's a very nice copy of Action Comics number 419 with the classic Neil Adams cover. It's also the first appearance of the Human Target. You can see I paid $6 for it. Condition wise, I think it's probably, as it sits, it's probably a 6.5. It looks great, but you can't even see it, but it's got a bit of a roll where there's like almost like an indentation that goes along here, and then there's a bit of a line right here that again is it's almost like something heavy was pressing on it. I think if this book was pressed, it would take care of all that and it would probably bring it up to an 8. I'm not sure how much higher it would go, but it's actually really nice. This is a book that's going for $20, $30, $40 on eBay because again, it's a classic and it's got a first appearance. So for $6, I used to have a copy and I sold my whole Action run a while ago, but I wanted to pick this up. This is just a cool book to own, and at that price, I couldn't pass it up. Here's another Conan the Barbarian, number 11. So this brings me down to just a few issues. We'll put the scoreboard here. I waited earlier on putting the scoreboard up when I showed you the number 8, but here, let's put up the scoreboard so you can see just a handful of issues that I have left to finish my run of Conan the Barbarian. And all of these I can get off eBay anytime I want them, but I want to support the local stores, and so I figure if I can find them locally in my trips around the comic stores, I'd rather do it that way. So we're going to keep looking at comic stores. This is the only one they had that I needed, and it's a double-sized 25-cent. It's the anniversary month, November 1971, where all the Marvels were double-sized 25-cent issues, nominally to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Fantastic Four #1 and the founding of the Marvel Universe. But there's a whole other story behind the price change that I won't get into right now. But classic Barry Smith cover and artwork. So really happy to get this. I'm so close to having this done. And then finally, I had asked if they had any romance, and every time I go in and ask if I have the romance, and they tell me, well, we don't have it here, but call us ahead of time. So I called ahead of time. There's 2 or 3 things I almost bought, But I came away with this, and I have this nagging feeling that I already own a copy, but it's so cool I decided to get it anyway. It's Young Romance number 85. With a Jack Kirby cover. Young Romance, of course, was created by Jack Kirby and Joe Simon, and the first few issues, 10 to 15 issues, had Kirby covers, and then after that they went to photo covers, and they did photo covers for a long time, and then right at the end, like right before Kirby left and Simon, like Kirby basically left his own company and went to work at DC and stuff, and just before that happened, just before the code, they went back to the drawn covers, and there's a couple Kirby covers right at the end, and this is one of them. I like the guy in the background who's just feeding his face. He's just stuffing a sandwich in his mouth as he watches these two make out. It's great details. They're so intent on the kissing that she's pouring the coffee all over everything. Yeah, it's just it's got a lot of tanning. It's got typical around the edges. The interior pages are sort of light tan. It doesn't seem to be brittle. There's no chipping really or anything, so it's not flaking apart. So it seems structurally solid. We looked through the book before I bought it, but it does have the tanning. But it's $30, and I got a gift certificate to Bedrock back during the pandemic. I wanted to support the stores during the time they were closed. I still had a bunch of credit left on that from that, so I didn't have to actually pay anything out of pocket because I already paid for it last year. So I figured, let's do it. Kirby Young Romance, you can't go wrong with that. So that's it for this time. Thanks very much for watching. Next time around, I'm going to be visiting a new store. I'm going to be visiting one of the OGs, the big stores in the area, one of the top comic stores in Massachusetts that everyone should visit if you're coming here. That's Outer Limits in Waltham, Mass. So I'm excited to see what they have. I haven't been there since before the pandemic. I found some great things there in the past, both in the dollar bins and just in general. So I'm not sure I'll be able to film inside because it's a small space and it's always busy. And I'm not sure I'll be able to film inside. But I'm hoping to bring you whatever I can and get some cool books there. So for my next haul video in 2 weeks, that's what you'll be seeing. Until then, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.